Hello, everybody. Let's record this as well. Um, Hello, everybody. Welcome. Good evening. It is a live, very special live open loops. We have two people here. One is a returning guest. Sean Bond is the new one. Yes, we have Rocko Fowler. Actually, is it Fowler or Fowler? I forget. It's been so long.
Fowler.
Rocko
Fowler.
Fowler. You know what it is? You know what it is? Last time we didn't say your name, Rocco. You didn't want your name out there.
This
Which,
is correct.
yeah, which we could go into that and why that's changed. But yeah, Rocco Fowler. And of course, new guest, Sean Bond is here, a spiritual healer. This man does all kinds of things. I mean, everything from Reiki, meditation, DNA activation.
hmm
Um, yeah, I mean, he's been helping Rocco a lot since we last spoke. If you listen to that episode, you may recall that Rocco was really not in a good place sharing his story. I mean, truly disturbed, truly just a lot going on, and even when he started this call today, he seemed a lot happier. So, Sean, you must be doing something right. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
No problem. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so look, I have to just wonder, let me start here. Rocco, how did you even find out about Sean? I mean, since we last spoke, I know there's so much that's gone
Um,
on, but how did you
uh,
guys even meet each other?
well, about 2 years ago, I had friended him, right? And I was going through like a serious time, but I didn't say much. So I guess he unfriended me. And then it was funny. We started talking, and finally, I friended him, and he said, "You look familiar. Where do I know you from?"
Hmm,
And that started the collage of different things and talking about experiences. And he said, "Well, I can help you with abilities, psionic abilities. He's taught me about wholeness, and transmutation, and how to also basically I'm learning how to dissolve an individual. I'm learning how to actually end cap a story in a positive way now. And
right,
even if you hate me, I still love you. And that's it. And I keep it like that because it's kind of like, what, you're just brushing it off and you're not
right,
giving it your energy. That's the problem. And then I was dealing with issues with, beings taking abilities from me. And Sean would know a little bit more about those abilities that were taken in different parts of my chakras and all different kinds of things. And I had to start to try to get those parts back. So basically, I was always taught by Sean to hug yourself,
hmm,
deep breathing exercises.
yeah,
Um, I have to say, wholeness was a meditation that he had gifted me. And it's much appreciative because it helped me find the real me, kind of like an Alan Watts. I listened to
yeah,
the real you, and it said, when you want to wake up, you're going to wake up. And see,
wow,
the reality of it is we're all one. We're all one, but there's so much negativity. But it's like, as long as you keep putting positivity out there, positive things are going to happen. I go by positive vibes like all the time.
yeah,
I smile more now. I, am more happy with myself now. It's more on a level of, I went through what I went through. Sean knows a little bit more deep about that. I can't really, it's so much And then there's stuff that I believe his higher self said that he could not, or whatever it was, could not disclose that information because it
Right.
was traumatizing.
That is very interesting. Sean, I have to ask you, because I'm always curious about this. I mean, how does one get into founding a league of people dedicated to spiritual science? I mean, we're talking, yeah, and silver cord spiritual science. I have no idea. I mean, where does this start for you personally in your journey?
Word answer. Um, 'Cause if I were being very honest, I'd probably like say before this life, and then all the layers of coming into existence in multiple realms and dream and astral and soul family, and the concept happening in ancient civilizations and even before this planet. But uh, the with your question, bring it here, manifest in this dream reality, this realm. Well, uh, I was born just like everyone else. Had some memory wipe, like the great forgetting that everyone goes through when they're born. Who they
Yeah.
are. Most people are like very old. Like in this game, they're pretty powerful beings. Most people have like some interesting gifts for them to unlock into themselves. Most people go their whole lives without opening their own presence in their heart. But yeah, and then go having all these dreams, remembering imagination running wild and imaginary friends and visitations and dreams, and then also going places for like compressed amount of time while I'm sleeping and then come back. But yeah, it all being told that oh, you got a really active imagination. That's wow. And then the subject changing to Muggle land. And then, getting distracted by that and then going through the school system until a bunch of awakenings that propelled me to relook into it, and then big activations and visitations in both positive and negative, and the negative being incredibly painful and overwhelming to the where empathic ability opened up crazy wide, and then things getting me to absorb negative energy and then feel that deeply, and then it being torturous, and then asking for help, and then having guides come to help me, and then teach me all these methods to defend myself. Then learning how to combat anything that's coming up against me to steal my energy, to suppress me, to control me, and then gaining all these tools of what works, and then otherwise die or suffer. And not really into the whole falling back asleep thing in the Matrix. Yeah, and then helping a whole bunch of people for free, then taking donations, then word of mouth spreading, and then finding people like-minded that are interested, and then like forming a group, and then having presented to me in multiple forms and dream and visions of like the future that I could have in a chess move, and then how to make the world better in psionics, and how it can amplify every aspect of our life, and solve so many problems from the mental standpoint, from the emotional standpoint, from the spiritual, and as well as physical enhancement.
Wow, I have. Does anybody out there? Can anybody? Did you all pick that up? You all got that? I mean, that was. Look, I think I got a lot of that, and the only reason I did, Sean, is because I've read enough and have immersed myself in this world enough to know that a lot of what you're speaking about could have also it could have also been like, yeah, I tried sports in high school, and then I was part of the glee club, and then this girl gave me a significant breakup, and then I just like found myself in college again. That could have been the story, but some people look at it from like a higher spiritual. I mean, you gotta get. I've noticed that as people ascend in consciousness,
Yeah.
you start getting to more abstractions, right? Because you kind of live in there. I mean, like if you were to make it two-dimensional, is it a similar story? Is it did you always, was there a moment where you went from just a regular guy to boom, now I see the world from this higher plane.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go?
You
Yeah.
both
Real
have this
quick.
moment. Well,
Well,
Rocco, I mean, I
2000
know a little bit about you, but go ahead,
well,
Rocco. You tell me first.
2014, when I woke up, you know, they say that like you normally have this like huge awakening if you were involved in these, you know, different programs such as Montauk, which I'm going to go a little deep into it. A lot of people believe this or not. This is why so many people don't like me, is because I'm not going to, praise people that are no longer here. That, yeah, a lot of reports. Myself personally had encounters with them by Battery 216. I had a handler that lived in the Hamptons that was also handling my father. I was being brought up there and things were being done. It was
Yeah.
kind of like what you said. Oh, it's just a great big, pedo. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Right.
And in the late 90s, yeah. There's stories out there of people in the 90s. My mother could attest to this. She'd go to teacher parent conferences, and they tell about white vans and they're kidnapping children in the 90s on Long Island, New York. In the 90s, past the book, past all that stuff, people don't think nothing happened out there, and nothing is still happening. There's still stuff going on. They went deeper.
Right, because the narrative people know, and I know we've talked about this previously, but the narrative is that they were doing experiments in, I guess, around the mid-70s through the early 80s, more like late 70s, early 80s, and then they stopped these. They say they were, I don't even know how you would classify these experiments. I suppose it's mind control, but I know there was teleportation and it was kind of actually, well, I mean, the way I've heard psionics used before, so I'm curious about your redefinition of it, Sean, but more in the psychotronic, I suppose, way of melding mind in machine, and everything from time travel, teleportation, manifesting thoughts through remote viewing, all this stuff that was going on. And then the conspiracy piece of it is that they were mind controlling children, like doing some serious MK Ultra level stuff. Very interesting. Supposedly it shut down and wasn't going on. But Rocco, what you said and what I've heard testimony from other people before is that this was still going on in the 90s, and you believe still going on now.
In other areas, I hear there's factories where I had a friend that pulled up on a factory one night, and they were bringing kids in. They had their hands wrapped around their mouth, and they were trying to drag them into this building, and it was a factory. And I every time I go to New York, I want to try to find this spot, and I never can find it. It's like
it's still happening.
In
other words, this was recent.
Of course, it's still happening. I mean, look what they gave, the Epstein situation. I mean, look at that.
It is very weird. That is like a conspiracy in plain sight.
Yeah.
You know what? I know I asked you, Sean, about, if there was a moment where you actually tapped into the spiritual realm, but I guess let me put it this way instead. Because look, I was always a conspiracy intrigued child. I was always fascinated by the psychic realm and these matters of magic and whatnot. did you know about Montauk or any of this stuff growing up, or did all these things come to you later? I mean, you look like a pretty young guy, but I'm curious, sort of, what the formation of the Sean Bond we know today.
Sure. To your previous question, yeah, I had a lot of experiences that got me into different modes of experience and perception. It's like I call it the tearing of the veils, and there's different veils for each perception that we're ready to handle. The veils are both a safety mechanism for perception so that we can stabilize ourselves. It's like the ego boundaries, protecting ourselves within the reality of the matrix, and like what people need to open themselves up past the gatekeepers to open their awareness, to perceive more, to integrate more, and then how the brain perceives light coming back to it, and all the energy, which in this reality is that most people perceive is like 0 point, a large amount of 0.00005% of all that exists in any given space, including realms, dimensional layers, and elements
Whoa.
of energy construct. And there's different consciousness that will inhabit that, and it's like tuning into a different radio station of the pineal gland and the pressure of the piezoelectric effect of it. But there's more to that too, because there's like our own willed blocks that we put in at a young age of childhood when we're afraid of something, like nightmares, night terrors, and then we block it, or like things abusing that to try to keep us in as an energy battery in unawareness and unawake, which is the grand chess move of this planet. How many people are awake, how many are asleep, and if other beings can manipulate that and steer the direction of humanity in their will. Yeah, and then also there's parasitic veils that attach to people, and they lessen perception. So as we face those fears and we transmute them or heal them or show them love or detach from them, depends on the situation, what they are, then we can tear those down and open our mind up, especially as we question more and we see what's in front of us. I had like huge events, non-psychedelic, some in dreams, some entities and demons and all kinds of things showing up, and then to the point where I used to be very skeptically minded. I used to not believe in any of this stuff, and then it happened.
That's what I wanted to know. Yeah. Did you have the rock bottom moment? I mean, I know that when people hit rock bottom, that's when something opens up for them. But
K2. K2.
I mean, was it? Sean? Was it something like, severe depression or an incident in your life, family, interpersonal, that caused you to really want to seek in this way? Or
mine is hard to sum up in a few seconds or even minutes.
Right.
I have videos about it. I'd reference it as I was forced into a prison void space maze of trying to harvest my energy and abilities in my own consciousness in my body, while my body perceived like it passed out and sped up time within that to torture me, try to keep me in there as long as possible, but it was able to get out of that. Some people that have really haunted drugs or heroin or other stuff, or deep possessions that like force their main consciousness out of their body and then compress it into a prison while trying to take over the body, is the experience that I had. Yeah, and then I got out of that, and then everything they used against me, I learned how to use it, and then I have all that knowingness going in quite fast. But
now, when you say they, can I ask you one thing? I'm just curious. Sorry to interrupt. When you say they, I know you go into this more, and we can share your channel with everybody, or you can learn all about Sean at psionicleague.com. We'll post a link there for everybody. But what I was going to say is that I'm curious about, I suppose, when you say they, like, do you mean an actual group of people that were out there with some kind of agenda to psychologically imprison you? Or do you just mean like U.S. capitalism and the pharmaceuticals? Because you could say it the same way, right?
That's a good one. I like that. No, not really physical, like multidimensional apex predator like area. I can't even name them, but
Whoa.
most.
So we're talking like off-planet kind of. Are we talking, like Arcturians or something? I don't know. Are those the good ones? We like those
I like
guys.
that they came in
No,
your mind, but because I was just gonna talk because I was reading something cool off you having to do with Octurians, but so there's like
Whoa.
some mind mentalism thing going on. But okay, so yeah, most people in a body are hopelessly ignorant to a lot of things, especially the dark forces, the dark sorcerers. They're mostly giving their sovereignty away to some demon they did rituals with, that they gave their soul away to, or they sacrificed something to, and then they have a stream of information flowing from them. The demon doesn't know that, or they don't want the being to know that they don't know about it, and they can be very easily manipulated or controlled or camouflaged from, because the dark forces steal their authority. They don't earn it
Yeah.
on this planet. That being said, these demons that I faced were archonic demons in Gnostic text, having to do with the incarnation grid. Essentially, our planet is like a big experiment between the light and the dark, like unity that ends wars between whole galaxies and universes in a huge hybrid body that is the human experiment. That has like large amounts of species introduced to it. So there's a lot of things that want to control it and aim at. So Light Force had the planet, Dark invaded, took it over, Light Force took it back over, Dark. It happened a few times. Atlantis Falls last time, the Dark took it over, and a bunch of beings invaded into reality, fucked shit up. And wounded the crap out of the planet to where she's like in a coma, and also stole, imprisoned, and even devoured a few management authority like angelics and stuff, and then stole their abilities and power and soul parts, and then made a false light angel grid and false light beings and all that. Yeah, so in the archonic grid, that's what I'm referencing. Not all archons are bad, of course, but the Gnostic definition isn't really fully accurate, but it at least opens the door for people.
Oh my gosh, and these guys targeted you directly?
Oh yeah. Yeah, them, a bunch of other apex predators around the planet that have like anchorage into multiple bodies, either possessing them or incarnating them, like the banking families and some of the old, the Rothschilds and all that.
That's interesting. We have some people in the comments already talking about the 12 bankers that rule the earth. That's I know that's it often kind of comes back to that. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think there is like a coherent, because you just kind of gave me the summary of all of time in under 5 minutes, essentially. Which
he's quick, man. He's fast.
Yeah, no, I mean it's very interesting, Sean.
And
It's
if you follow him, what he says, it's funny because it's almost like I connect with him when he gives me a task. I'll connect with Sean. It feels like. And then I had a positive abduction not too long ago. And these beings actually gave me back my some of my abilities. And I've been helping people. And it's weird how fast you can transform from that, poor me state of mind, sad, you want to stay in the memory instead of move forward. And, everything that they did to me, I reverse engineer that. And then I use that against them. So now I'm using their own weapons against them. That's my whole idea here. I love it because I'm the type where I call the demon out and tell it, you're not welcome here. I'll vanish it. I'll vanish it quick. I know about the cube within a cube and a trillion mirrors and all that stuff in a box and locking it and put it in an etheric closet. You know what I mean? And locking the door and shutting it. And understanding that my altars are me.
Right. I remember we talked a lot about altars last time and how, yeah, I mean, Rocko, it really is interesting to talk to you like this because you are, Sean, I got to give you credit. I don't know what's going on over there, but Rocko is definitely, it felt like you were much more of a victim of your altars, even as much as when was that interview? About 6 or 7 months ago? I mean, what specifically have you and Sean been doing in this time that has really brought this
I'll
change?
let John talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear, Sean. What did you see like as of recent? I mean, I know you've been working with Rocko longer, but I am kind of curious what exactly you've been encountering as of recent with him.
Right. There's a lot to explain, so I'm gonna not remember everything, but I'll try to do a
Of
little something.
course.
So like when I saw him, I read into people and their DNA history and other stuff. And I was like, oh, I met him before in other lives, and like we teamed up in some points. Oh, and he's got a large amount of potential, and he's got all this soul history and like things he's gonna accomplish if he stays in that path. And he's got amount of super hybrid DNA in him that's pretty powerful too. So, and then all this projects that like force evolve. So he's got some evolutionary balls waiting for him to unlock into himself to get full control when he gets rid of the things trying to harvest them off of him. And he's been doing better and better at that. And they made a bunch of trauma abuse, mind control abuse alters in him to try to navigate his path and control him, because he could have a big output and like in the grander chess game of the world, the big movers and shakers, the global narrative and all these ways to puppet the masses goes into effect to try to subvert them and try to predict them. And people that are rising too fast, they tend to want to either control or use for their own forces or whatever. So I saw a lot of things trying to do that, and him holding up against that and compressing into a altar to try to take control of himself, which is impressive with what the trauma he was dealing with. And then I was given the tools of how to heal altars, which if people want to like sum it up, they can get the book. There's a book called Symphony of Selves that like explains that how do you bring them all into an orchestra of selves. And it's similar to this show and comic called Legion, where each of them through fracturing
That
especially
right there was it. That right there was it. That opened me up, and I was like, that is me. Holy shit. Like, because I was sitting, because the guy's like, you have the power to do, you know what I mean? Like, and that's basically what was going on. These things were talking to me and saying, you have the power to let go, and I didn't want to let go for some reason. It was like, and then I found the guidance and the support and the kindness of Sean Bond. I mean, it was hell. It was really hell. Especially when that one altar came out.
that was interesting.
Yeah. Danny.
Oh, what happened? Talk about that.
Yeah, I'll go into mine, but feel free to bring it up first.
Oh, Danny goes back to my when I was 3 years old. My first alien encounter. Because at 3 years old, I do remember being brought on a craft to an underground facility. And at the same time, I was still going to preschool on the air base. So, yeah. And my mom could attest to that. She remembers seeing the being or beings. And yeah, it's quite, it can be traumatizing. But waking up to this stuff, what really drew me to Montauk, weirdly enough, was when I seen a Montauk Chronicles clip of the tower. And it was like I had to go there. Like it was like I felt like there was a connection, but what happened is when I went there, I was doing like a lot of K2. I was drinking a lot. I was partying a lot, and I went there and, sometimes I was not sober, and I realized that from past lives I had an EVP read off. It must be a past life because they said my name. Whoever the individual was said my name.
Yeah.
So
That's very weird.
I've had some weird experiences. K2, I was addicted to that. Talk about teleportation, and then your heart racing, and going into and dealing with demons almost. It was like.
So how does Danny show up? I mean, what exactly was this incident that you both were taken aback by?
Well, Danny started coming around when I met another individual that I will not mention names because out of respect. But it just didn't work out. And I feel sometimes people are looking for a extravagant story, when the truth can be as much as your head being dunked in a bucket of water, until they almost kill you and then bring you back, and I've also learned now how to bulldoze program. I call it bulldozer programming. Like I played the whole Beethoven song. I played Moonlight Sonata. I played it all the way through. But when I was done, I needed to go to sleep. And when I went to sleep, it was like very like psychedelic. It was weird. It was a very weird experience. I felt sort of like I was falling back into my body as I was trying to struggle out of it. But yeah, that's something I learned too. Sometimes you just got to get through the program, but I don't believe in, doing certain things in front of a man figure after you went through trauma is a way of deprogramming.
So are we saying here that were you working with him, Sean, and then all of a sudden this spirit overtook Rocko? I mean, what exactly did you encounter?
What do you remember about that night, Rocko? And then I'll explain.
Honestly, I don't remember any of that because I have found the real me now.
Whoa.
And have dissolved that old me. And I am moving forward, and I am learning to use my abilities and my Jedi mind tricks, just like whatever you want to make fun of me on the radio, go ahead. It's okay. If you don't believe me, you don't believe me. I've come to the understanding that not everybody's going to believe what I say. Nor do I want them to believe. I want them to go do their own research, and go talk to somebody like Sean and find the real you, because the real me was not the one that you spoke to a few months ago. That was just, all my memories just were, all over the place because I didn't take time out of my day to get away from the internet. I was researching too much, trying to find people to talk to about it. And you know what? I figure when you talk about the negative parts of this stuff for too long, it kind of wears you completely down. So it's like, it's, I don't know. I'm a different person today. That's all I can say. But Sean, let him know.
Break it down for us, Sean. What is going on here? Why doesn't he remember it? What happened?
And it's pretty good. if you were to go into scientific proving of alters and case study, and like for people that like, oh, are alters real, and the associative identity disorder, dissociative identity disorder, where they can't remember, and the fracturing of that, and all the programs. The right doesn't necessarily believe in it. The left is going more into it with like TikTok videos, and though even a little too far to where they think a lot more people are doing it. It's past remembering to like archetypal personality aspects or past life leadovers or all this stuff that's coming out in their personality, which is okay too, but like kind of a bit of a fashion thing. And whatever, as long as it gets out, they're great. So this is a good case study, an example, because it goes against what a person would want in their life, and it's like havoc. So when I was reading into his interaction with projects and stuff, there was entanglement with a being that we call Junior, which is like the demon of Montauk that's presently known to have entered into this reality from possibly another hell realm through like some experimentation. I read that it's a cluster of demons. Most demons are like composite beings of like stolen parts from other beings, and that they got, and then they accumulate that because their soul is usually stolen themselves and is fractured and something controlling it, and so they're abused and their light is shut down, so they have to steal energy from other things. And they don't have much of a moral code, and they'll probably have never felt love before in their life. So this is like 10 major demons that were like targeting him from in a project for both wanting his power or using him as a battery, controlling him, as well as trying to stop him from what they perceive him as a threat in the timeline, which would make the world better. There's these things called higher selves. You can look into it, where even if you're a muggle or unaware, a sleep person, as a chess game, as a chess player, chess piece on the board, you're doing more than you're making everyone here is making the reality better than if they weren't here. Some more so than others based on their history, who they are, past lives, where they were before they came to this planet. Like for you, as an example, Greg, your higher self right now is the size of the whole realm of this planet, and it's like a chess player going around making chess moves based on what you're good at. I'll go into some of your abilities after I get through the story, and it'll be fun.
Yeah, very curious now.
Yeah.
Appeal to you're appealing to my ego self. Yes, but keep going.
Yeah, and then that's the higher self versus the lower self, and you can merge them together in love and peace, and it like creates great evolution. Okay, so so there's this big demon that's trying to anchor and possess into multiple people, and especially that are deeper in the projects and deeper in proximity to Montauk. It's also trying to steal from the area around Montauk, and as it goes around, searches for what its chess move is. And it's not just that being, because it's not, that being is fractured and it exists in multiple places, and it's like a grand chess piece of a bigger predator. So it tried to possess him, and he's been compressing it into an altar, which is how we survive. We compress trauma into an altar, and then if we don't heal it or give it sufficient enough attention, it comes up every once in a while and explodes outward and makes havoc for us. I'm not completely knowing all the details of what you went through in that and with all that, but there's something that was trying to cause havoc between him and many other members in the party and get them fighting against each other, which I see that all the time in the super soldier community, is in the MK Ultra community, SSP community. It's like a literal thing that tries to stop us from uniting. Without all this background negativity and negative emotions, drama, and negative spiritual aspects and entanglement, a lot of this drama would go away. It's mostly based on like, oh, I don't feel good around you, and there's I feel like you're haunted, and there's an entity, and then like people like, oh, he must be practicing dark magic, and there's all this stuff that like gets people pit against each other, and these demons steal energy from each other and throw them at each other, and then it's like, hey, you started this fight, no, you started this fight, and then they feel justified to keep fighting. It's weird, but whatever. There's all this kind of stuff with it. So then just to skip ahead, he had an altar of that demon come up to where it was very interesting and prevalent in evidence of it being, and I started interviewing it and asking like what like who are you, what's going on, because it was like trying to add this weird strategy to try to force everyone away and insult people, and I was like, I don't mind, you can't really get me angry.
Right.
Like I've been through this before. I have had alters throughout my life, and also many roommates I had that would just flip in and out, and I'd like help them through it and resolve it and then bring them out through. But you know, it happens to the best of us. So I'm very understanding and caring, and I realized it started. I was like interviewing who it was, and it said that it was a demon. I was like, oh wow. Okay. So I started interviewing all that, and it actually started presenting itself with things demons would know, as well as how they would act. And it acted kind of like a psychopath, like where it couldn't feel love. It didn't really have any of the memories Rocko was saying about or talking about. It didn't bring up that stuff. So I started like what I do with demons after I had a bunch of negative experiences. When they come up, I can feel deeply into their history and who they are. So I get a understanding and knowingness about them, and I start sympathizing. Oh wow, you torturous soul, you poor soul. And you know, just no matter how evil things get, I always know like how they got to that place, and it makes sense how they got to that place. A lot of very torture and all that. So I practice my ability of unconditional love and acceptance for the being, and creating a healing bubble space to reach deep into its heart and shine try to reach it with love and create a spark of light. And I kept like interviewing it with why it wanted to, you know, it was like in a kill alter mode, like I want to kill people, and it's like, okay, why? And then it's like, I love to kill. And it's like, and I was like, love, what is love? And then it started like, I didn't really have a great way to answer it. So I was like, if you don't know what love is, then how can you say you love that thing? And it's like, it feels really good to kill or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's not love, that's thrill. That's what, you know, in psychopathy, that's what psychopaths go through, because they had their emotional body shut down to where they can't experience anything else. So that's the thing they're allowed in, like an excitement, thrill that comes up from doing something not supposed to, or something that's against the grain, and causes adrenaline release. So I started telling it about what love is, and then like what it can experience if it taps into and accepts that love and lets go of this huge amount of trauma, and letting know that it's okay to let it down, and I'm here for them, and then just surrounding them in like a big hugging space of acceptance and love, and that I'm willing to accept them when no one else is. And then he was able to compress it down and heal it, and then retake the altar, and then the demon went to a place of healing, like in quarantine realms, to then graduate through, and he had an evolutionary entanglement with it still in a good way as it heals, so that adds to his ability. But then, you know, getting it out of him and then retaking control. If anyone wants to heal an altar, the basics aspects of it is you have to fortress protect it from all new trauma coming in. Let's say an altar would be formed from a demon attacking you. So the wound area where it attacked you, probably stole some parts, etc., is where the altar is formed around. And so it's still quantum entangled with that demon that may have taken parts off from a distance or energy, and using that to control the person or put negative energy in and control them. So as you have to have some offense, defense, possibly capturing, banishing, other tech that you could use to get resolve that demon attachment and get your part back, and then fortress the altar from taking any new trauma, then put a whole bunch of healing energy, which can be amplified through love, acceptance, compassion, and getting like this feeling of brightness inside you and confidence, and the placebo effect, already healed programming. And then shift it there. And then you can fill up that altar with a large amount of love, all the love it needs. And then you can start imagining it come closer and closer, and becoming okay, because it has a fear of being disintegrated or not existing anymore if it merges back with you. So just letting it know you're not going to lose anything. It's going to be like a positive multi-headed hydra of abilities. And when it comes back, and it's going to have access to all the good stuff and nothing of the bad stuff that it fears. And then as you resolve that fear and bring it to peace, it becomes like this super altar that then is like the original thing of the forced evolutionary projects to create altars that then, like for survival mechanisms, evolve the body to try to outperform what may cause death or a threat to the body, to like when you really need it, the power switches on, so that that creates a mechanism from the altar. If they heal it back, usually there'll be blocks and all this other crap to it though. So if you heal the altar, then you have the abilities accessible. So it's pretty fun.
Whoa, you everybody just got I gotta tell you, man, if I'm with you all the way through that, I wonder what this show's gonna be like when I try shrooms for the first time. I mean, that is really that is a wild explanation. And I do wonder here, what this actually looks like. Like if we were to put a Hollywood camera on Rocko as you're doing this, I mean, is he, when you're interviewing him, is he in an altered state? Is his voice different? Do you see like an actual exhumation of the spirit from the body, where almost that, the Exorcist, that almost the dust comes out when you're done? Like, can you paint the picture a little bit?
Sometimes that does happen, but I wasn't really. I was more so texting him and sometimes voice messaging.
So you can do this remotely.
Yeah, and he sent me some messages when he towards the beginning that was like angry and like something about like me not being a real healer or something, and I was like, oh, whatever. Like I'll show. But, yeah, and then infinite love, because traps. And then but it was totally against his regular personality. There is a darkness that was coming out, but I was transmute any energy that comes to me. I had a whole bunch of those type of things that came up against me: darkness, evil, shadow, not from him, but like other people in my life, to where I get really good in offense, fortressing defense, to where I can still shine my light, and then shine it even brighter the more chaos that comes in, which is an ability that you have, Greg. Chaos, people call it chaos magic, but that's mostly the people that are very moral relativistic. It goes into like chaos being a primordial energy that you can get, that has a combination of all types of energy in it, and it's swirling around for interesting, unpredictable things to come out of it, and it also deals with probability. So it's like the anxiety energy you feel at a airport. If you learn how to flip it just right, you can transform it into magic. You can transform it into other positive emotions and energy.
Wow.
And then use it as fuel source. A large amount of the energy on this planet is like infrared energy, and then 2% of and that's like 70%. And then there's going down. Chaos is pretty prevalent. It's like 2% of the energy that floats around the world right now. And that's because of a lot of things that happen. It used to be different.
2%? You say 2% of the world is chaos? What is the other?
Most of the good things are less than 1%. So that, like, let's say that's a fairly big amount of the energy.
Okay, that makes
more
sense.
Magic when there's giant trees and stuff on the planet, but now we got to get it from other realms now.
I was gonna say, I mean, it is pretty sad, I have a lot of healers on this show, and a lot of people who've delved into the occult and star seeds and whatnot, and sometimes I'm sitting here like, guys, when is the magic gonna come back? Are we just is this
Right.
are we still just going to
Right.
be in this human form, and is it going to be out of my lifetime? I mean, if this there's a lot of talk, right? I mean, even as of recent, there have been prophecies from the Hopi all over the world,
Oh man.
indigenous cultures talking about a return to magic on this planet, and it almost seems like how often. I mean, Sean, I kind of want your answer to this. Yeah, I've heard about this split. Some people are coming with us, some people are not coming with us. But
Uh-huh.
I mean, there's an age of the Aquarius in the 60s. There's always a kind of great awakening thing coming, whether it's QAnon or whether it's whatever it is. I mean, people promise this great awakening, and it just seems like we're stuck in this material realm. Um,
Well,
what can either of you speak to that? Like, what is going on here? When's the magic coming?
I'll talk in
the
a bit.
magic
Go
is
ahead, Jay.
here. The magic is here, man. Like I can, if I don't want to talk to somebody in the store, it's like I use these. I call them my own group of psionic abilities. Like I'll say, "Oh, that over there looks somebody's looking for you," and I'll walk away, walk right out, so the conversation will end because I'm noticing too many people, and it's weird. I'll go into public now. Before I'd go in public, nobody would say hi to me at the cash register. I walk into a store now, because a lot of when healing comes into play, hygiene, all that stuff, showering, doing what you're supposed to do on a regular basis. Because at one point I was not doing that because I was too worried about, things that I wasn't ready to hear. I was not ready to hear. And it got a little crazy. So, but now people are like, "Hi, how are you? How can I help you? How's your day?" I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." I guess positive vibes, bounce off of you, man. I love it.
Yeah,
It's a good feeling. Hell yeah. Yeah.
that's interesting. So the magic is here, man.
Uh,
But I mean, yeah. What is your answer to that, Sean?
I agree with that. It's um, uh, so it depends on the definition of magic, of course. Is like anything beyond what's it's science and the understanding of nature at a greater level than what we can currently understand. That's why I like a lot of science that used to be perceived as magic is, or you could perceive it as a type of energy. Like I define it as the energy that makes shit happen.
Hmm.
It's like manifestation. It's like a solar plexus energy. Most people have a generator in their solar plexus for magic, force, chi, telekinesis, all these other superpowers. That is either dormant, shut down, stolen, or waiting there to
yeah.
become active. So that's one of the big things if people want to have magic come back is start with yourself. You are a big supercomputer generator, and it can like start bringing the magic back at a local level. There's also places of power in the grid system and grid workers that people can go to, like mountains and rivers and lakes, and some of them are good at dream energy, some are good at creative energy, magic, force, all these things. You can like read and find where the place of magic near you, and then you can trade with that, protect it, help it open up, and then trade with the consciousness of the area to change their DNA for the better, while trading for it for magic for it to protect it. Of course, the giant trees that were cut down, that those are huge generators. They're a little wounded at present, but if people heal the stumps, they can do something. There's realms of magic that, like in Norse mythology, goes in the tree of Yggdrasil and the 9 primary incarnating realms of Earth. There are more realms than that, but those are what humans gained access to mostly. Places like Alfheim, there are other realms that are permeant in magic, have big giant generators and trees and mountains that produce magic and permeate the realm with it. And sometimes our realm does commerce between gateways and energy portals between that to bring magic in. The more people open those, that's also another easy way to bring back magic. There's also big predators on the planet, multidimensional apex predators that have stolen a lot of parts, superpowers, and energy from people. And if they get them back, then that also adds to the magic and is like a permeance. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say about Montauk for a second, because Montauk strikes me as, from everything I've heard, I mean, all the way to, the indigenous people that live there, the pyramids. It's kind of a perverted. I mean, I feel it's an up. They kind of took a magical spot.
I like Green Earth. I like Green Earth. So now the truth's really going to come out. Preston Nichols was bringing dudes to his home. Okay. And there has been people that have spoken about this, but they will not go public. I have friends that won't go public about this stuff. They're scared to death of the government. They're scared that they're going to get, you know what I mean? I mean, Look at the guy in Montauk Chronicles. I don't believe he fitted. I think he fitted a small percentage of the 80s, right? But not the whole. He said it was still going on in the 90s. He was wearing a mask, a grown man, not even wanting to show his face, but wanting people to know the truth. But they're thinking he's crazy. But
right.
He talked about Timothy Leary. He talked about Albert Einstein. I mean, look, all of these people, Peter Beard, I mean, with the snake entrance, then you have the Seinfeld episode in the Hamptons where there's a
what's the Seinfeld connection
out there that found a hidden bunker in that area, right in behind the house where it was filmed, I believe. And then across the street from Gurney's, there used to be an entranceway to the base.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Jerry and Elaine had something to do with Montauk? Wait a sec. No, but that's weird. That is pretty weird that there's a connection even there.
Well, there is a channel, Montauk is Strange, and you can go on there, and he's got videos of going through there in the 90s.
Yeah.
Where like vehicles and he's got like 16 suitcases of information that pertain to this, where he's been on the History Channel. He's been on several different shows, I believe Dark Files. But he's a very private guy. He tries to be as private as possible.
That's what's weird about this.
A lot of information. He does have a lot of information.
I was going to say, Rocko, this is people that question Montauk can't question that. I mean, there are so many people from all different walks, people who are tangentially related, people that live nearby that saw things, people that were involved. I mean, men, women, children, all people of all demographics have stated that something weird was going on in Montauk, and not just weird, very weird.
The people are still weird there. They're still weird there. The way they look at you, if they know if you're not from Montauk. I get that feeling whenever I go there. Like, I always have an SUV pull up, and they get out and they come in, and they look at me, and because they know where I'm headed. And there's been note of SUVs flying through Montauk, down Montauk Highway, doing 100 at night straight to Camp Hero.
Yeah.
So there's something going on up there. They're doing drills, or they're doing something that they shouldn't be.
So all the men out there, I mean, you heard him say it. If you're dealing with a shrinkage issue in Long Island, just blame Montauk. Yes. So wait, back to, because Sean got that reference. Okay, so look, the thing I was gonna say is that this is a wild thing that so many people have talked about what's happening there. I mean, can you even how do you even debunk it? Some people have tried to, but you can't, or at least no one's really given a clear answer about what actually was happening there, why so many people think it's weird. I mean, I guess yeah. I'm still in silence about it too. It's a strange
Well,
place.
there are people, but there, like I said, there are people that don't even have Facebook.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah, it
point.
would just be your average person walking down the street going into the grocery store, but they're so traumatized to talk about what really happened to them, and they don't
Yeah.
want to come on air because they don't want to deal with drama. Um,
Sean, I need to ask you in terms of the energy grid and this idea that you were talking about magical places on Earth. Um, is this kind of what you think they landed on here? Like, is this an example of almost an imperialist mindset? Like, hey, we found this spot. We know this spot is magical. So we're going to build a facility. We're going to examine it. We're going to poke and prod at it because we have some deeper agenda. I mean, what is your take on this area, this vortex, if you will, and why there's so much energy around it in particular?
Good question. Yeah, and
yeah,
I agree with a lot of what you guys have been talking about, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. They're the people that were very close to it or even involved in it have like something big demonic energies that are attached to them, trying to steer them away from going public and talking about it. There, it's like a hush hush type of like otherwise a pain and suffering gets put upon them. So yeah, and sometimes you'll get a few interviews about it, and like it'll go all over the place. And there's even screen memories and temporal dilation, abduction involved,
Yeah,
because it's just one of a basis of a net of bases having to do with abducting people and then programming them.
yeah,
I it's the one that people go to when they look up MK Ultra and the trip chair and the Psionic chairs and the forced evolution in torture. It's that kind of stuff, and like things going into Stranger Things. That a lot of
right.
like that type of project goes to one's deep underground military bases, dumbs that are like that. And the deeper you go down, the more horrific the experiments are because it can go against what the laws are and be secret. Um, yeah, so there's a big operation with this. It's horrible. The places, well, the whole area of like Long Island, New York, and the Connecticut area was a bunch of
oh
sacred
crap,
places.
my eyes are twitching, dude. Whoa, my eyes are twitching.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah, big Native American sacred places.
Right.
New York has a huge
Oh
dream
man.
tech and all this other empowerment and magic. There, like you've said before, there are pyramids under in the ocean. I also know this guy, and I live in Connecticut, right above it. So I can feel the energy permeating from there, and it's very haunting. It's like a big gate that's open, and that's tried to make multiple other gates once a big demon passed through, anchored itself in,
Oh.
and is trying to make it so that there's a permanent link to a certain hell realm. And then a bunch of demons coming in and then messing with people and then driving the energy down and stealing from everyone and like mind controlling people. There's a guy that I know that I'm going to try to do an interview with that took a boat up near the Montauk area, Long Island Sound, and he has videos. His name is Sauce90. He has videos of songs being sung out in the ocean by what he claims are sirens, and there are videos of that, and then multiple people doing that. And I read that goes back to a collective of sirens out there.
Oh wow.
So there's a lot of things secret in like
Sirens.
tunnels in the ocean too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh man.
look
Oh
across,
god.
Do you
find them.
mean like electron like or do you mean like the Homer sirens? Like,
Yeah, Homer, one of the species of
whoa.
mer people. There are multiple types. A lot of them are deadly to humans, but some of them are nice. Depends on how you communicate with them, and if you let
The
them know that
Draco
you're
are
interested. You can
filled out
telepathically
there.
communicate with them, and they'll send you a message.
Wait, so
And
are you telling me the Draco?
they're out in Montauk all the time.
Draco there too. Underground bases, a lot around New York. There's also raptors and this Naga species that like I was tracking one time, and they had like pet dinosaurs underground. There's some
Wait,
crazy
what?
stuff.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're telling me there is a Jurassic Park? What? Where is it in Connecticut?
You know, it's funny.
This
Sean
isn't just
said
there.
that. It's funny. Sean just said that. Somebody was telling me earlier today. This is how weird. It's like synchronicities. It's like somebody was telling me today that they're finding out that dinosaurs really are living inside our planet.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where did you see the dinosaurs? I need to know more about this. This is fascinating.
Well, I didn't get much information on it because, like I said before, I don't have time to do that all. I try to, I'm a father of 2 daughters. This stuff definitely interests me, but I'm not going to let this veer me away from my path to success, because I'm not going to be one of those lonely, lost Montauk boys that they talk about. I'm going to be bigger than that, because I have confidence in myself. I understand there's going to be bad publicity. I understand there's going to be good publicity. Either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just conveying a message that might help somebody that's crying in their room one night alone, with a pistol next to them, ready to just say bye-bye, because they can't live with what they're dealing with. I've been there, and nobody was there for me at that point, except this situation here. Sean is the only one out of a bunch of people in this community, because we want to talk about, we're warriors, we fight, we went through these programs and fought on this planet and did this and killed one another. But if you do that in the 3D reality, you're known as somebody who's crazy in this community. But the reality of it is, sometimes it's hard for people to get their alters under control. And some of these people that don't get on the internet and talk, they're not people you want on the internet talking, because they're going to say things that are very rude and nasty, and they're not going to care, because they deal with so much drama that they just try to block it out. I know a man who worked there who taught me this. He said to me, Rocko, I don't like talking about Montauk. He said it to me one time. He got very, very loud with me and said, and I understood it. I respected him after that.
That's very interesting.
Because, from what his experience there, it was, a little bit of a lure me in type experience. And, unfortunately, he says to me, I wish I never went public, he said, because people make newspaper articles about me and they never even met me. And they say that they met me. And he said, it's sad. It's a very sad thing. He said, but I've learned to just not let it bother me. And that's the same thing with me. There's ways to taking care of things in certain situations. You don't cross the boundaries and bring family into this, or, you just don't do stuff like that. That is uncalled for. That is just disrespectful. I understand people's opinions, but sometimes I think opinions get a little too far out of control. I believe everybody can believe what they want to believe. But what I'm learning is when I found the real me, I said, wow, I finally found who I am, what I want to do. I want to help others get through
Yeah.
battles like myself. Because
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
kind of an
believe
interesting
that. And
idea. Well, sorry to interrupt. I just think what's interesting about when it's almost, and this is where this idea, the polarities intrigue me, this good and evil polarity, and also this notion of the mind controlled versus the true sovereign versus what most people seem to be, arguably, which is kind of like, we're in the middle. They're giving us TikTok. They're giving us Netflix. There's not really a real battle going on for most people. They're just trying to survive, and they hear the news and da 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 da. But in
yeah,
a strange way, by being forced to be at the absolute bottom of humanity, by going through one of these projects, by stripping you of your identity so much to the point where they actually somehow are able to get other alters inside, other personalities coming through you that aren't you. You're so stripped that you become this demon is possessing you. The flip side of that is the other extreme of liberation, Rocco. I mean, this is what you're talking about. You're talking about being yourself. You're talking about liberation. And not that I would want people in the same way, like with Elie Wiesel and, Viktor Frankl, and people talk about the Holocaust, like, you don't want people to go through that, but it
no.
is interesting how on the other side of it, if you are one of the lucky few that is able to make it out and have access to healers like you, Sean, or hypnotherapists, or people in this work who really delve deep into this work. Not talk therapists because they're useless. But just kidding. Just kidding. But no, it does take this does require some serious work.
Yeah.
And if you are able to get through it, one might argue that you are having a deeper, in a way, a deeper experience of humanity that might be more powerful than most people who are just like so trapped in the matrix. Like these are matrix cracking moments for people to be mind control victims. And at the bottom. I mean, I don't know why some people get chosen to do it versus not, but and I'm not saying I want to do it if you're listening out there, but I do find it interesting that it's almost like it can be a speed highway to awakening that some of us really will never be privy to. What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
I agree. It's the roller coaster of life. You can't have a huge up if you don't have a huge down. And like the dark night of the soul, like a lot of people experience, and it takes us deep into the darkness, and we have to find our own light within, and because the external lights stop working anymore, and it drive us to that point to reach deep into our power. And this universe, in an evolutionary way, it's between light and the dark, and which is the optimal way to evolve. If it was just all light, then it would be boring. If it was all dark, it would be horrible. So they like push each other to evolve faster, and we are like a map of the multiverse in our own being, and we can bring that light and that dark together in unity by understanding what they're meant for. A lot of the different souls of different places will be going through a lava lamp up and down through those pathways, but the light brings creativity and birthing divinity and the management and authority, and the dark cultivates resilience and ability to thrive and survive and grow a strong foundation. So it's like the root chakra is going up, and this is the upper chakras with the heart in concept of consciousness. And if we ever, this universe, how it works in evolution, any big challenge you come up against, the universe will grant you the power that it takes to overcome that deep within inside you. But there's all these things that try to prevent it from getting out by compressing it deep within you. But if you
Yeah.
reach down inside you, you can pull something out that will help you prevail against it, no matter what. And anything that gets thrown against you makes you stronger at this point, and especially with momentum and the tools that are needed to overcome these things. No matter how big the demon is, if it doesn't have a body, it's potentially weaker than you. This DNA tech is so overpowered, it's crazy, but for most people, it's shut down like a paperweight into what it can really do. We have the greatest potential for emotional expansion, greatest potential to feel love, but barely are tapping to that at all. But and then all the abilities and drama of all these other species that are adding together. So it's like where gods come to become even greater if they want to incarnate into a human body.
But most people don't even play this game. I mean, that's what's weird about it. That's why I wonder, is it... It's not necessary. I almost wonder if, and this is just me theorizing out loud, but you've brought this out of me, both of you. If everybody were to unplug, and I don't just mean unplug from the internet, but I do. But if everybody were to unplug from the internet and unplug from TV and unplug from their jobs that they're doing currently, unplug from their current relationships, and actually sit with themselves and go, oh gosh, do I feel meaning in this world? Am I living a life of meaning? Would they be faced with a rock bottom moment that would force them to go, oh my gosh, there's so much more to life that I'm not even close to. They are so out of touch with themselves.
Right. That's funny you bring that up, because I was living and this is when I met Sean. It was like perfect timing. But I still had to have, like Sean said, that, like a roller coaster, I'd have that bottom in order to have that up.
Yeah.
You understand? And it was really getting to the point where the police were almost involved, and it ended up being the police, and there was, I'm traumatized by the cops because something happened to me when I was a kid with the police. I was always a police target. I'd get stopped for nothing just because of my last name. But what's wrong with my last name? I mean, like, I didn't know. I was a young kid. So I don't know those things. Some of those things, I remember the white vans. I remember things like that. But this bottom was where I realized that, a relationship wasn't something I needed. You know what? I needed to find me. And I'm still not by any means, ladies, looking for any type of, nothing. I don't want it right now. I want total purity. I want to, get to know my daughters. I want to become the father that, there's not, there's kids out there that don't have a dad. I want to be that type of father. I have goals, and that's what I do is I set small goals. And now I'm learning, as I'm being able to get my abilities back and adjust myself in this, reality that I live in, that some people say, oh, you're schizophrenic. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. But they really don't understand that. No, it's energy is moving through my body at a very high velocity. And, sometimes I'll even contact Sean, and I think I was talking about a supercomputer underneath Montauk, and something about, he said something about pulling, I guess, a implant or something out of something. What was that, what you were talking about, Sean? That was interesting. And I ended up figuring it out. It was like I think it was like we were doing a little bit of like a remote view type thing. I think maybe I might have been tapping into the same thing.
There was an implant?
Yeah, I was reading there's an implant in the head, and I was like tracking it back, and it seemed to be a thing that attempts to amplify psionic abilities as well as remote viewing, and a way to monitor in person. So I was like tracking that to a project in New York, and then like what that had to do. Yeah, and there's quite a bit of people that are experiencing the same thing with that, and you know, they're attempting to evolve or people, and then put them into more projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Sean, were you going to say something before about, the state of the average person and sort of how they're not? I'm curious, yeah, what your take is on this. If everybody were to look themselves in the mirror and realize, I don't think, yeah. Again, we're playing with like abstraction versus real. The Matrix is a great metaphor. You can believe it's a projection from the moon and whatnot, and I'm not saying it's not that. I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not. I gotta dig more into why people think that. Though I know it's like the David Icke and all that stuff. But no, the point is that like you could look at the Matrix. You could say it's actually a thing. Or you could be like, hey, look, there is this metaphor. There is this people are plugged into the structures. When people are living from structures in other people's minds that were imposed on them, which seems to be, I don't know, 99% of society, it seems, then I would say there's a lot of unplugging to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the layer of mind control on this planet is outrageous.
Yeah.
Where I'm reading to the point where it's like there's almost nothing people can do about the level of mind control other than become immune to it, which we're ultimately gonna become. Which in the end goal is pretty awesome, but right now it's not that great. Uh,
Yeah.
so like them throwing out everything they can at us from all these other worlds and species, like he went into the Draco and other negative dominators that seek to control us or claim they own us, and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, if like for everyone in their waking journey, just keep asking questions like, why am I here? Who am I? Like, what was I before born? What is it like to be after death, after I die? And like go and research near death experiences, and like beyond, like all the commonalities between spirituality and like what people have achieved, and the look past limitation, things trying to control or gatekeep or limit it. There's a art to getting to the things behind all distractions, and then finding what is distracting us from the goal of what we're here to do and why we're in the first place.
Correct.
The barrier. The old version of yourself wrote a list for you of what you need to accomplish in your heart. That sometimes comes out, and what we feel, what we enjoy, what we love, we get excited about in our drive. What you love, you become a genius at. So go into those, gain many skills, become your greatest self is the ultimate goal, is to become your greatest self, because when you're doing that pathway, you will find a lot of your other goals get achieved. And on that path includes remembering, intelligence, IQ isn't a fixed number, same thing with emotional intelligence as well as physique, and that all amplifies everything. And our chess move here,
Yes.
how much we make the world a better place, Grains, and then that slowly change the timeline to a better one.
Yes. And you can always change that timeline. I love it. You
Man,
have that ability. Once you get that ability, it's awesome, because I've done it. And you know what? I felt really good after doing it, because, once you realize that you have these abilities, that they were hidden and they were locked, and, this goes back a little bit to a situation that happened where it is what it is. People get freaked out. I supposedly bilocated into somebody's home, and I was a demon, I was called, and this was when I had my falling out. And I've learned that I just gotta just let certain things go. And, if the person don't want to talk, they basically, I mean, they ripped into I felt it. Christopher S. Jacobs, I will give him the respect, that is deserved, because he did do something for me that opened me up completely. And I was taken for a week, and I was returned not the real me. I was returned something totally different. It felt like an artificial type. I don't know what it was, but it made me evil. It made me sit here and think about what can I do to cause this problem, and F this person.
When did this happen? Who's this Jacobs guy? What? Where did this come in? Is this like your time in Montauk, or is this recently?
No, Jacobs.
Or
I'm
Christopher?
talking about what my ex.
Oh.
When
You're
I
saying
was,
your ex
Christopher S. Jacobs was a healer as well.
Oh, okay.
And he removed the block. And after he removed that block, those beings were not happy. And there was also military involved, because that was my lab, and a whole bunch of different things went on. And I was brought back, and I had no memory for literally a week straight. I had no memory.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I was just totally like, I would say probably disassociated, disassociated, and not the real me, because I mean, I was getting pretty violent. I was getting, pretty, it was at a point where I needed to get everybody away from me, because I needed to purge, is what it was.
Yeah.
And when I did that, funny enough, sickly enough that I'll say this, but it actually helped me, because it removed everything away from me, so I could, focus on myself. I needed to focus on myself, but I had to go through, certain things that were pretty scary.
Yeah. Sean, you know what? I'm very curious. Based on do Rocco's experiences fit into the broader field of psionics? I mean, what is the Psionic League for people that don't know? I'm curious, and how would you define psionics?
It's a military science that was made in the accumulation of many different cultures and countries of what they did in achieving consciousness evolution, mind over matter abilities, and using it for military projects. Like Russia started doing it for a while with like remote viewing and stealing the secrets of the US, and then they got the note of that. They thought it was funny, but they're like, oh wait, they're getting our secrets, so they had to make their own counter to that with like the movie that makes fun of it is Men That Stare at Goats. There's
Yes.
like Project Stargate, and there's many others, but it was way more brutal than that. That's like a puff piece. But yeah, and a remote assassination, remote influencing is is a very overpowered skill that stopping the heart of a person. It's not pleasant, and there's a lot of negative stuff that goes along with it. But yeah, and it's very targeted.
Unfortunately, I actually got that. You read that on me, Sean.
Yeah, they try to get you to get involved in that. They're also trying to.
Wow.
They were trying to get me involved with it, and I'm trying to get rid of that as much as I can. But it's hard because they keep coming back, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But
What is that when they say, Sean, when they're trying to get you involved? I mean, is that like is that in when you're at sleep at night they're trying to recruit you? Like how do you know they're trying to get you involved? Is it a spiritual energy thing? Like what is it exactly?
Yeah, when I lived in my I lived in Boston, and then before that I lived in Delaware. I started getting visitations and ET experiences and like abductions and these dreams of UFOs showing up and invading, and like having to use psionics to crash a ship or something. And then also some of my love interest dying and getting taken, this weird stuff. But and some that lasted like days in a compressed dream in one night, as well as being on like medical bed type things while ETs were looking at me. And a lot of other stuff that I don't have memory to, and some with fear barriers over them that I have to give a proficient amount of time if I want to even dive into that. I used to, they would keep me up at night too, and I'd get these weird symptoms and frequencies and clairaudience, and I'd hear stuff and anxiety that comes out of nowhere and that wakes me up, and things like looking at me, and I would see it with my third eye, from like people that have these helmets on. If people are dealing with that, the best thing to counter is with psionics. Camouflage is one of the biggest things when you're awakening and you're getting a large amount of abilities. It's like you're turning a light on and it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. You got to camouflage that with like spherical geometries. If it has geometry in it, the etheric space, it can hold information memory. You can make this pulse that comes off your heart that can increase camouflage, fortressing. It's like, oh, nothing to see here, just a muggle, just a normal person. You got to camouflage rare energies you start emitting. They have technology that can pick up on this, and then they start marking you. A lot of the people in these projects are stupid. They're not that, they're mind controlled. They're not that moral. A lot of the people in the military just want to play video games and jerk off. So you can influence them to not worry about you, or like pay attention to someone else, or activate a different energy in a different location they pay attention to. A lot of these UFOs will just start showing up and then beaming me with energy to put me to sleep as well. And then they would try to take me after that, or put suffering into me, anxiety, or all the fear, like whatever, to influence me from doing what I was doing before. And then I would learn how to counter them and figure out like what they're mostly interested in. And then every energy they put at me, like mirror back at them, and then like transmute into something else that is morally okay. Like I like to awaken them and turn them rebellious against their system, so that they get distracted with that, and then the revolution.
What? Okay. These are wow. I'm knocking myself over here thinking about this. I mean, this is a very intense stuff here, Sean. And when you talk about the Russians, I mean, do they still? I mean, are they still practicing these techniques? I mean, they're in the news a lot these days. How much of this war going on right now, this war, quote unquote, is a psychic one?
Right.
Rocko, have you come across anything with that before I answer?
Well, yeah, because I obviously am in control, or I work at a base in China. And I haven't figured it all out yet, but that was something else that was read. I remember you talking about that, Sean.
When you say you're in a base, what does that mean? Does that mean you actually, in your remote viewing, in your dreams, and in another parallel world, astral body? When are you on this China base?
Well, I don't know all of that because it was read on me when Sean and I started doing work. That was one of the things that came up.
What is that exactly, Sean? Is it a recovered memory? Like, is he actively part of, is this some secret space thing where he's just being brought at night to this and lives a double life? What is your take here?
Yeah, so a lot of this doesn't quite make sense to people without advanced technology that's been created in compartmentalization and kept from the masses. There are military generals that are come out saying that everything you see in the movies and like our technology underground is 100 years ahead of you, and we have the ability to take ET home. Like, things going into how people are abducted, it gets very advanced because they try to do it in a cheap route for cheap human labor that they don't have to pay, and it's like a slave labor force that they can mind control and make an altar for, that they can switch them in and out whenever they take them. It makes more sense when you understand there's these two Vatican scientists that made chronovision, which people can look up in like Project Pegasus, like disclosure.
Of course, Father Fernetti. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's yeah. Know a lot about the chronovisor.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looking glass tech.
Yeah.
Nikola Tesla's Vortal tunnel technology, the Philadelphia experiments, Colorado Springs, the movie Prestige goes into his teleportation projects, and these Vortal tunnels that like people can teleport through. Now there's way more advancements with that. So combining teleportation with time control, as well as a regression technology that I've seen. There are two main ones, which is one is like a little more rudimentary, which is a chemical cocktail that starts to make all the cells reverse age, or this really advanced one that's like with holographic 0-point technology that was either it depends on the faction on Earth, either stolen or traded for with various races like the Lyran race that can very easily, the machine is supposed to take an imprint of when the person is taken so that it can just revert it back to when they took a blueprint of the person. So it's like fairly not horrific. And then
where have you seen this, by the way? Did you see it in person?
I mean, if you want to say that, yeah.
Wait, okay. I mean, you did mention before that you saw dinosaurs, which I still haven't forgotten.
Okay, so yeah, I can go into that too. So yeah, so people are temporally dilated, where they're taken, like this would be the main person's timeline that they view and see. I'm still like trying to find words to describe the difference between their main viewing timeline and when they're taken and do a bunch of projects or skills or teach or get taught things and do work or slave labor, like military soldiers, psionic projects specialists, dark magicians, all this kind of stuff, or ships or go off planet, all this kind of weird stuff. It's like cheap labor. They don't have to pay them. Like, there's all these grandiose promises and stuff. And then they put them back as if they never left. And then, so with that, it's like you don't remember, and it's like you just came back into the reality as if nothing happened. And sometimes you get a big jolt, or you were asleep, or you're like, oh, what was I thinking about? And this weird like mental fuzz thing that happens when it happens. It can be very instant. Sometimes they put you back 5 minutes later, but sometimes the ones I've seen are instant. And like I mostly get involved with other ETs and Soul Family that take me through that method. Sometimes I get the memory. Sometimes it's a secret mission. And like if things that are scanning my thoughts on the planet get the awareness of what I was doing, they would uncreate or reverse chess move it. So there's like these things people are doing. Most people get visited in some way, whether it be a positive, negative, or force abduction and my lab of abduction. With the dinosaur thing, and so I don't see these physically. I combine remote viewing, astral travel, and stuff like that. When I'm tracking back things that are attacking me or are plaguing the planet or like suppressing grids, I found out about this when I was visiting a star fort in New York. There's also a star fort like under the Statue of Liberty. There's these all around the planet. It goes on like Tartaria and like where all these weird buildings come from. Anyway, so I was remote viewing what was suppressing that, because a lot of those are built on stargates or like these places of power that have an energetic node that comes up from the center of the planet that allows for travel between that place and a certain star system that allows souls to come through and incarnate here. Usually they're targeted by various races that know about them and then build a base underground. Deep going underground, I was like reading what was under there. It included raptor races, which there are a bunch of people disclosing about raptor races in like the super soldiers that are talking about that, as well as scientists say if this didn't go extinct, it would probably be the prevailing sentience on the planet with its evolution, and how smart it is, which I read that too. I've had multiple friends that are psychics get attacked by these beings to where it shuts their psychic ability down and then brings them into pain. They're pretty predatory and they can psionically attack people. Some of them are nice, but I haven't ran into that many of the nice ones until after I got them to like not see me as a threat. There's also a Naga race, which is in Hindu, Japanese, Chinese, adders in Celtic mythos, and even the Native Americans call them snake people deep underground. They had a cataclysm and then they all went underground and then set up shop there, and like the snake people is what they are. Sometimes they have a snake-ish body, but they do a lot of genetic engineering, so they have many different forms. Yeah, I also read they were down there and they had weaponized like dinosaurs that they were keeping as pets for like how Jurassic Park and world goes into militarizing them. If you also go into Max Spears, he had an interview where he talked about there's a secret island in the Pacific that is hidden from all maps that holds cloning for dinosaur genetics. And it's like, oh, how do they clone dinosaurs? Well, besides there being hidden honeycomb bubbles of reality under Earth that have these things set up, these like artificial biodomes that are like made by mostly read like Orions and Syrians and other stuff like Pleiadians to keep near extinct species alive and going, and then they have a purpose spiritually too. There's these big forests underground that have like these obelisks beaming up out of the center, or a big ass pyramid that have like an artificial sun above it that allows for life and plants to grow and trees and all that. And so some of them are down there. Besides that, and if the military isn't involved in that, I'm not like privy to that. They somehow got DNA from them. There's people going down the rabbit hole where they found fossils that still have soft tissue intact. There's like a big cover up. Oh no, you can't get soft tissue out of fossils anymore. It degrades over a period of time. Well, it depends on the fossil. There's not a lot of people that want to break these fossils in half and see how many of them have soft tissue existing. But yeah, there's that. So people can now clone dinosaurs if they go into that.
What the heck is? I mean, Sean and I mean, Rocko and I are both drawn into every word Sean is saying right now. I don't know what it is. What it is, man.
I wanted to ask Sean because I got a vision of our planet, and then on the inside, it looked like there were levels, or like sub levels that, where these different dinosaurs and stuff are.
I've heard similar things. A lot of related to the subterranean bases, stuff like that.
Yeah, Inner Earth, there's a lot of subjects going into that. There's different entrances. It's like portal systems.
Like small hallways, rooms. Also, I believe cages.
Okay, now look.
The dark one.
Now look. I mean, and guys, I appreciate both of your time. I know we've gone on longer than initially we said, but I mean, I'm drawn to uncover the mysteries here of this reality. I mean, we started with Montauk, but it really has gone to the entire galaxy, the universe, all of life itself. As I was expecting it would. But I suppose, look, what about the people out there that are going, these two are bonkers? What about these people? I know there are people out there that are going to go, what the heck are either of these guys talking about? I mean, definitely, look, I know there's a lot of There is a lot of corroborating stories on the mythology of it, but I mean, underground bases, dinosaurs, and whatnot. I mean, Sean, does it even bother you? Do you have you cut people out of your life that are skeptics? Do you even talk about this stuff with them? I mean, what is your reality? Because I feel that most people are going to listen to this and go, "What, Greg? This is really wild."
What do you do for them, Rocco? And then I'll say mine.
Well, I'll just say, I love you, and your opinion is your opinion. When the truth really comes out and people really see and they really experience something and they really experience what it's like to be on a table and being operated on, or what it's like being taken for a week and being replaced and you don't even know who you are. You're calling yourself another name. Okay, go ahead. Call me a schizophrenic. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me anymore. I don't let that stuff bother me. I just dust it off like it's dust on my coat, from a tree
Wow.
branch falling
Sean, what
on me.
about you?
I give them love. Most skeptical people, I blow their ego apart in a few seconds. The
Okay.
I used to be I'm very scientific. I was born in a very scientific family, very skeptical. So I had to go through the gauntlet of that. I used to not even believe in any of this stuff and ghosts or any of that. What experiencing it myself is what opened to me. So a lot of people won't believe in this stuff until they have experienced it, no matter what. Is the ego boundaries that hold and comprise them are keeping them safe because they feel like if they open it up, they're to threat as well as pain because they've been holding a large amount of pain and suffering for a while and they're fractured. Well, most people are asleep are fractured and they're hemorrhaging a pain that is inside, and everyone's got these secret battles. So I have compassion for them. I don't really mind being questioned. Whatever. I don't even need to go into the subject. Is mostly people will bring it up. Yeah, I didn't even, the dinosaurs and the underground bases. I go on a trail of researching if this stuff exists, and then like, oh, they have these diamond tip spinning giant disc things that drill out big tunnels every day, all the time, connect underground bases. And there's this, if people look up the Cygnus mystery, there's a thing going into underground tunnel systems that go for miles, and they have not even gone through them entirely to see how far they go. They connect to whole other countries, and there's these underground libraries and stuff. There's 10,000 pyramids in Mesoamerica and South America alone. People don't like where did these come from? Why? So there's all these cool mysteries and then the global narrative and what they like say our history is, and they throw everything out that disagrees with it. So I just give them like with what they're step by step what they need to chew on to research to overcome the skepticism. And skepticism is good. It would be unhealthy for people not to be skeptical. I love skeptics. I don't like cynics that like believe performance mainstream paid to be skeptics. It's like, who's paying you to do this? Why are you doing this for your career? So like shut down, like anytime you look up psionics and super normal abilities, that's what you're going to get, because the governments don't want empowered people. They want slaved, useful workers that don't think and do whatever they're told. They don't want empowered people. China's doing this now too, with like shutting down religions and stuff. And that was the other thing with China is like, yeah, they're China and Russia are the big other two that are big in psionics, especially China. They go into the Qi field and Qigong and like all these Qigong masters that can do incredible things. Some are dark, some are good. A lot of the good stay away from the government. There's school, if people look up the books, Chinese super psychics, they have kids that can go move, they can phase through walls and they can teleport and they can do all these cool things. They can see without their eyes. They list the abilities. Yeah, it's crazy. But I have a playlist on if anyone wants proof of these abilities of I made a playlist of super normal abilities for anyone to go through, and that will also trigger one of your abilities, which you're good at, which is quick evolution ability to any powers that you see. So you can copy abilities. So if you see them demonstrated, of course people fake them. Of course that's going on in all the time with Magick with a C, magic tricks versus Magick with a K, the real occult, going deeper, hidden knowledge, esoteric that's been hidden throughout history. All you need is one, and that can disprove all the noise of like, oh no, that's all fake. You're just a normal person. There's nothing more to this reality. And like, why would you even want to live that in the first place? I'm never bored. I don't like go after things that are very little intangibility. The reason I was tracking back that base that had the dinosaurs under it, because it was attacking me. I was like, where is this coming from? And then tracking back that frequency and then resolving it so it goes away. Like if you want to resolve headaches and stuff, sometimes that's what you got to do. And then if they're like visions and fear and programming coming in that affect a person and then put them in a reality they don't want to be. So yeah, it's all what I like to focus on is tangible stuff that helps you in the now and builds up off of that with abilities that can give people the tool to overcome anything. And if you want to live in a world where that doesn't exist, all the power to you. Keep going, man. But it's super boring to me.
It's boring to me too. I mean, that's why I didn't start an entrepreneur podcast. But I will say that well, I'm going to be selfish. I want to know more about my abilities. Okay, I'll try to make this relevant to the audience too, because as much as I do love people to talk about my gifts, oh, so selfish. My gosh. I wonder about how this relates to your DNA work. I mean, when you say that, when you recognize someone's abilities, Rocko's, mine, whoever you work with, Sean, is this something that is written in the source code of their DNA? Is that where, or is that a different thing? How does DNA connect to that?
I like your terminology with that. Yeah, DNA is interesting. Of course, supercomputer antenna that receives energy from the quantum field. You want to go into the science of like what's the point of spirituality? Just look into like cellular science with self-receptor cells, and it like stem cells are without the self-receptors of the personality. Essentially, self-receptor cells are an antenna that receives a signal of consciousness that is you, and it's like, whoa,
yeah.
You mean I'm not my body? Consciousness is like in the field, and I'm picking it up like a TV or radio, and like you can shave off those self-receptor cells and give it to another person and have their self-receptor cells. It works for them. Or the same thing with taking a heart transplant and putting it over. That person receives the signal of the person and changes their personality, their habits, their food that they're craving, all this kind of stuff. Same thing with blood, transference.
Yeah.
And yes, besides that, Russia goes heavy into DNA science that we won't even touch because it goes against the global narrative and empowers us. So there's like phantom DNA effect where they shined a laser on DNA and there's these little magnetic wormhole like magnetic fields that catch the light and freeze it and hold it there, and it's like accumulates. And when you take the DNA away, the light is still there in that magnetized wormhole structure that had a reaction. So it holds data and like optic cables, and it can receive more of your consciousness. It can attune to more. Fear is like a frequency that is a larger bandwidth, and so that allows you to access less. If it's a high vibrational energy like love, allows you to tap into more of what the DNA strand can receive all at once of your consciousness. So when you're in those high vibrational states, it allows you to receive more knowingness of who you are, access that library tech. How I read people is mostly, I describe it as everyone's emitting biophotons off their being, and each one of these is a photon. It has a fractal of like the hologram of you, like hologram as in light splitting infinitely and creating physical matter, and then that emits. And each one of those photons has a blueprint of who you are in it, and you can feel into that and receive it even through video, and from a distance as you've locked onto a person. And empathically, you can feel into another person. Empathy is something that a lot of people can have and grow as an ability. To most knowingness I gain is through feeling. So as you get rid of the muck and the trauma and the trapped emotions that we inherit through this life or other lives or passed down our DNA lineage, it gets clearer and clearer. We can see more with that infinite hard eye that allows us to, like, when we focus onto a subject, a person, whatever, and frame it with a question, then we can start to have pictures and daydreams and feelings come up, and then that like come up with a picture, and then I train that to get really fast and downloading to me. But everyone should start slow with this. But everyone,
yeah. What do you I mean, what do you I want to know what the lights are saying. I mean, look, you talked about chaos magic. You're not the first person who's ever said that to me on this show. I've had Ed the Pagan, great guy, great of the witch school. I was like, what do you think? What kind of magic would I do if I were to get into this? And he said chaos magic. I've heard that before. I heard it from it's very interesting.
I could definitely see that. Chaos,
I haven't delved too deep into it. I mean, as somebody that is a student of NLP and hypnosis, I know that there are parallels to such things.
Right.
I mean, are you also this ability to copy? I find interesting. So you're saying that I can look at something, a skill, and if I really zone in and focus on it, then I'm able to duplicate it easily than others more easily?
For sure you are.
Yeah, and I recommend going on my YouTube and then going through the lists of abilities, and then you'll instantly get those blueprints, and then you'll have the thought streaming, especially as you focus into your heart and like bringing up like a daydream, and you start to get a list of what it needs to do to reverse engineer that. If you go slow with it and write all the stuff that you down, you can build it. It's an operating system. You can even download things from the past lives that you had and bring them up. Yeah, so you got that ability. You definitely got chaos magic. If you wanted to get into magic, yeah, it's like a force, and there's generators in the solar plexus. Sometimes they're stolen from us, so you got to sometimes get it back. I read that you still have it. Ooh,
what is it? Yeah.
What are you holding?
What do you got there, Rocko?
Oh no, it's just me taking notes.
Okay. Man, this guy's
still... No, I was taking notes. That's what I'm showing you. That's what I do. You want that blueprint. He's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Honor, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, look, when would you I want to promote your boy Sean, Rocko. Sean, tell me this. When do you recommend people work with you? I mean, obviously, like, psionics is pretty cool to learn anyways, but when people are reaching out to you at psionicleague.com, you know, I know you have a lot of courses. I know that you even have free services. What is that about? But you also have like a community there. I mean, what are people gonna find? When do people seek you out? When is it best to have a Sean Bond session, would you say?
Whenever they want. And if they want to go the free route, I got a lot of free videos and stuff they can look into. So that I get a lot of free abilities and stuff out, because it's at this point with the knowingness amplified, and I recommend people going to knowingness. It's in your heart. My God, there's like a huge library and books in everyone's heart. I just like give it out, and it's like I can infinitely tap in more stuff. So whatever. Yeah, whenever people want, I got a bunch of video procs on my site that teaches abilities. I'm gonna try to bring out more. Yeah, and going more into your your magic, I also recommend you go, besides chaos magic, which is like when you feel a big ball of negativity on your heart, learning how to give it unconditional love and then shrinking it down and transmuting it while it disperses into a bunch of positive energy, and then you feel some nice excitement and bliss that comes from that. If the more you practice it, then you being able to control probabilities like Scarlet Witch and Avengers. Then I also read that you have a powerful psychic tech in your solar plexus as well. So I recommend upgrading that generator, and then psychic awareness and precognitive tech, and possibly dream tech that you have. You can go out into nature and find a big place of power and meditate there, connect with the trees. They'll start being able to teach you telepathy at a lower elemental type level. As you go up the bandwidths of frequency of types of species you can communicate to. Humans are fairly hard, and we got a lot of blocks. Then I also read you have a thing that your higher self is doing, which you can evolve a lot more and you can trade with, because it's very powerful. You have a superpower having to do with freedom, which is very needed on this planet. There's a lot of people enslaved in prisons, psionically put on them in their mind, the ego boundaries keeping them from awakening, keeping them as dead slaves, as well as energy harvesting batteries. You have this secret master key that opens any door or cage or anything that you've come across, and it updates, and it's a little bit more advanced than a key, but essentially it's like the psionic screwdriver in Doctor Who, but not looking like that. It's energetic, and it's an extension of you that you earn from a past life, having to do with like what that word that you came into your mind, Octurians, which have positive, negative factions. There's all kinds of things going on with them. They like to accumulate large amounts of knowledge. They have like some of the biggest libraries I've ever seen in this galaxy. So that'll go into like a big collective of authority that you got from multiple places, and knowingness and libraries within your heart that add to this key that allow you to free people or open doors. And you can go into the next point of your third eye. There's a hallway of doors that like lead to different parts of your DNA, your consciousness, operating system control panels, beings that want to talk with you, past lives, mystery schools for learning abilities. And you can open, you can use that to travel and then find different doors. I recommend scanning what's behind the door, of course. You don't want to open something that is like a Pandora's box. But you could essentially free people, and your higher self has been doing that on the planet as it's big as big as the entire realm. And there's
very
other
kind.
books, yeah.
It sounds very kind. If you were trying to woo me, you did a good job. But yeah, no,
Not even scratching the surface.
Oh my gosh. Okay, things are getting steamy over here on Open Loops. No, this is great. I mean, this is beautiful stuff.
You actually have steam going on, because it looks like you do.
It does. It's the blurry background with the library, back there. But maybe the light has been kind of going in and out during this entire process. Yeah. I mean, look, I told him all about the freedom, and that's very funny that you use that word. I mean, that's kind of the one word that is it plagues me day and night to not be as free as I want to be. And I think by doing this podcast, by meeting people like both of you, by studying the various things that I read, there is really the search to not be not be in chains anymore. And I sometimes I'm out in the trees, I will say, Sean, and I'm curious what your practical advice is for this. But I'll go out there, I'll sit out there, I'll close my eyes. And yeah, of course the ego mind comes in. Of course, immediately it's like, there is nothing here. You are just closing your eyes. There's no da-da-da-da-da. I mean, is there anything you would do to kind of love that, I suppose? Maybe that's the answer.
Absolutely. Good intuition. Yeah, loving the ego is like one of those big ways to get past the blockage. The big block between the conscious mind and the super consciousness is held in the ego, and it's like mostly centered in the solar plexus, and then it encompasses a lot of the thought processing mind and multitasking and like 100 miles an hour kind of monkey mind thing that goes on. And it's there to help us if it's pure, especially it's the survival mechanism. It like it happens to me every day where when something tries to attack me, the ego will try to protect it. It's automatically will grow to the size that you need it to overcome a predator, and will attempt to evolve, but like it will be the first line of defense. So like any predator that wants to infiltrate to a person, and usually they try to hit to the soul is what they're usually targeting, because there's a control center there. That it will the ego and the shadow, which is Carl Jung's all the box we put all our self-defeating programs in, those are the two layers that will usually try to catch or transmit a lot of the negative programs and entanglement attachment from external world. So it has an operating system of inflating with negative programs the more that it attaches to an entanglement. So in Hinduism and Buddhism, the path to enlightenment is detachment and letting go of these attachments to the ego. And you can see your higher self at a bigger level, shrink down and love the ego, hugging it while you hug yourself, and breathe deeply, full in and out, and once in a while holding the breath at full pressure, and kind of cultivating that bliss and love for your ego while you hug it, and it'll shrink down and purify all those negative programs. The ego death it doesn't actually die. It never dies, but it will purify and unite with your higher self, lower self, higher self together, which then spurs this big, nice awakening experience of tearing down the veils and the ego boundaries and feeling one with everything, and unconditional, infinite love. And with that love, it contains connection and awareness and knowingness that starts unpacking very fast into your awareness, and then starts to answer questions that you've had before. It's like a whole different state of consciousness, and breath work and meditation.
Wow.
And detachment, and purifying this weight on our hearts that sometimes just feels like blah, and which is still a trapped emotion, because when your emotional body is pure, it's feeling blissful, full of love, and that's with purity. So there's all these 99% added on stuff that we gotta let go of and detach from as we regain connection to our infiniteness, finite having to do with the body, which is the downside of incarnating here. There's a lot of good stuff, there's a lot of bad stuff being here.
Right. Well, look, I am so amazed, because even having Rocko sitting there and laughing in the background, I mean, this is a totally different. I encourage everybody here, if you want to just even get a hint of what the contrast was. When was it? It was a couple months back. It wasn't even that far back. It was in June. It wasn't even 6 months back. My gosh. Yes, episode 217. Rocko was a totally different guy than now. I mean, really, Sean, you've done a number here. At the end of the day, here's my question. Do we think there could be kind of and Rocko, I know would be facing big forces of evil if this were to happen, but is there hope that this entire area can be cleansed? I mean, I'm not going to say that we need to have Sean, taking on this class action spiritual healing for all of the victims of Montauk. But if people did come forward and they were to face it, and there was a safe way for them to come forward with the protection of spiritual healers or spiritual guidance, do you think it's possible that there could be a collective kind of healing experience that might make this, it might just better the earth?
Yeah, absolutely. I also believe that I was talking with somebody else about going out to Montauk, and they know how to cleanse. And I believe it needs to be spiritually cleansed, and then take a selenite dagger and stab it right in the area where that whole the what is it? Oh man, it's the circular area at Montauk, and it's where Preston said something, some kind of like I don't know, something. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but anyways, I want to stab it right there.
But stab it with love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for everybody out there that may or may not have been a Montauk victim, do you have a message for people out there that have been, that maybe don't want to come forward about this? Is there some piece of advice you could give them, or just any message at all, Rocko, that you want to say?
Well, I can say that definitely what Sean Bond has been talking about tonight is definitely the truth. If he tells you something and sends you a video and says, check this video out, this will help your abilities, trust me, you watch that video, it's like the blueprint is right there, if you connect with it right. But wholeness is where it starts. You have to love yourself. You have to hug yourself. No matter how angry you get, sometimes now it's like, I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna let these people steal my thunder. They can call me a meth head. They can call me all kinds of stuff. They don't know me. And for those out there that don't know me, that think they know me and say stuff, you know what? There's counseling for narcissists. So, go check yourself in, and you know what I mean? Get work with that, because, that's the problem. When you deal with narcissistic people, it's a disgusting energy that I won't allow around me.
Yeah, you know what, that word, there's a lot more narcissists now, not to go into another rabbit hole, but I am wondering, I mean, who are those people? Are narcissists connected? Is there like a unifying connection between all of narcissists and these archonic energies? I mean, is there, it may not have a simple answer, but given that narcissism, there seems to be more of a public awareness and even a talking point about narcissism in regular life, more than I remember even a couple years ago. What is that? Are there more narcissists now? Is that just a dark spiritual energy penetrating into people that we didn't even realize was happening? What's the answer, Sean? We need some guidance here.
Yeah,
I'd agree with a lot of your intuition. Behind every energy and concepts of creation, there's beings that are good at it, or management, sources to that type of energy, and then they flow through a spiritual network of the experience. A lot of the dark forces will steal authority or hold on to it, and then divvy out that to control. Narcissism has a lot of things going on. There's like, it goes into that dark psychology aspect and dark triad of psychopaths, sociopaths,
Yes.
narcissists, and abusers. There's a lot with that, with emotional body shutdown, the part of the brain not working. That's the physical stuff, and the spiritual, they're very fractured. They're very little wholeness. They're very insecure, to where an insecurity energy permeates them. Every one of these energies has polarities to it and opposite. So it's like a musical chairs thing. If you don't have a lot of one type of energy, such as loving yourself and being confident, then you have insecurity and the other stuff in a large permeation, and it builds up and is felt, and then triggers thought forms, and that keep bogging you down. And people can like, oh, how much of a percentage of my thoughts from 1 to 100 is negative versus positive, and then they can start detaching and figure out where all these programs are coming from, other people, negative traumas and experiences, attachment and entities whispering into their mind, all that. A lot of psychopaths are haunted, and they get triggered in an altar to do negative things. So there's like a big altar of trauma that is brought up, and the need to validate themselves and get other people to validate them, and be loved by others, and keep having to tell people what they are instead of it being emanating and
Right.
obvious. Then there's manipulation and control and emotions and stuff that people deal with. So it's still a art form of knowing in psychology for this, and that people are exposing and coming forward with. And with social media, we get to see all these reflections of people and their narcissism, and allow it to be healed eventually as people find it, see the red flags, and they can avoid it, or they can eventually bring those people healing in making the psychology method, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or psychological archaeology, or digging deeper and asking deep into the question, finding the root core of the issue, where it came from, the trauma, and then that's keeping this big heaviness in the heart that keeps them from feeling one with everything, and instead being ego and self-identity and protection, and I gotta survive, and it's all me, I gotta gain resources and treat people like tools. And as the heart opens up to feel one with everything, and that ultimate moral code concept with natural laws, that you are essentially everyone ultimately, if like the whole Big Bang in science thing, or like source emanation, the source within all sources that's in everyone, that connects everything,
Right.
like a fractal. The science also goes into, hey, looking at all these photons, they have a common base frequency that looks like they were all connected at one point, so they might emanate all from one singular source. In like with universal expansion in each territory, and of course fractals up and down infinitely. But yeah, there if you can and this is like one of those things, the demons and the darkness and the shadow and the veils and the ego boundaries will get us to forget. They'll forget everything around us that would empower us, get us stifle the light inside, and get us to forget that we're ultimately everyone. Why would you want to keep harming other people? And if everyone succeeds, then it also benefits you, like a fractal aspect of the universe opens up.
Yeah. Yeah. Why are the empaths attracted to these narcissists? That's my question. I mean, it's the Velcro, baby. It's perfect. They fit together so well.
What do you think, Rocko?
It's kind of definitely messed up.
I don't know. See, I think sometimes it's like people have nothing better to do with their day.
Yeah.
And they're miserable inside because they have no joy, they have no happiness, and they don't want to find it. It's not just going to be handed to you. I mean, yeah, it can be handed to you if you reach out to different people who know these things. It's funny. I'm already today, I get a text message. Somebody wants to talk to you. They feel like they're being followed. And I'm thinking to myself, well, a while back, that was not me. That was not me. Nobody wanted to, I look at it like I'm a seed that's growing into a great big tree. And for me with the trees is I put my hands on the trees and I close my eyes and I feel the tree. And I'm telling you, I feel the energy. I feel the natural energy. I'll go lay on the grass. I'll go, different things. Also taking pictures. I used to never do that. I now do that with my kids, and it makes me feel good. So what I've learned to do is do things that make you feel good, that are positive, not negative, not, I don't know, like the situation I'm dealing with at this point, it doesn't even bother me. Yeah,
Yeah.
it bothers me that my mother got on there and literally told them that I have family members that have roads named after them, or a road named after them, Foster Road. It's in Quad, New York. It's named after my great grandfather who built it, who chopped down the trees and everything and built the road. I don't even think it's named Foster Road anymore. It's weird, but it's
You're past that. You've moved past it. You can
I,
see
I'm
it was
past that. I'm just, and I cut my internet time now. I'm more into listening to music and different meditations. I've been
yeah.
listening to wholeness a lot. Sean has a meditation called Wholeness, and that one actually, how it started for me was, I said, okay, I'm done. I'm going to do this. I'm going to try this. And I started doing it, and it became a habit. Every morning I made my pot of coffee. I turned on the Psionics League. I went into my membership area, free membership, went to the video that was gifted to me, and I turned on play every morning, and I started doing it myself. And then I started gradually doing it on my lives on Facebook. And then people started asking me, oh, you think you could show me how to do that? And I
Yeah.
started showing them how to do that. So each one is to teach one, we need to teach each other. So if I learn something tonight, like I might get off this live and something might happen, and I might have an epiphany, and I might, come into an ability somehow, some way,
Yeah.
and I might master that ability. And I'm still working on the muscle testing. Um, that's you gotta be. I'm learning. You gotta be a little careful with this stuff, because if you push it too much, it can be very powerful. It'll knock you
Yeah.
off your feet. Yeah, psionics are no joke. They're no joke. They're
Yes.
definitely no joke.
Well,
To
I'm
go
so glad Rocco didn't learn anything and has to get off this call to learn something tonight. No, no, no. I know that's not what you're saying. I know that's not what you're saying. Look, no, I've learned a lot. I've learned a ton. I mean, Sean, Rocco, such an interesting conversation. I mean, it goes all over the place. And again, I know Montauk is shrouded with mystery and conspiracy, and obviously Stranger Things is based on it, so a lot of it. But to use it, I didn't think it would necessarily be a talking tool for the collective awakening of humanity. And yet, both of you very well put it in a way that made me believe, wow, they're doing this inner work. There is hope. Um, Rocco, you had a great final word right there. I'm curious, Sean, do you have anything left you want to tell anybody, whether it's about Montauk, whether it's about, self-awakening, psionics? Everybody go to psionicleague.com. We'll link again, but I'm curious, Sean, in this time of duress, economic strife, the wars, what do you want to say to the people?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you, Rocco, for going in that and plugging that. That was beautiful. And going into some of the abilities you've been activating, and as you're opening yourself more and being able to protect your light as it grows brighter. More abilities such as you activating some of your rare DNA, interacting with the founder races, and Kundalini structure. There's like a seed in the tailbone that allows you to open this dormant energy that connects to the Earth Mother and flows up and activates dormant brain cells that make you smarter and turn on abilities. And there's different frequencies for different ones, each for different ones of the foundering races of different types, and a lot of them seeded animal life. So there's like ones for different animal in a higher sentient version. as well as you activated recently Evil Death ability. It's kind of like Ego Death, and this can also be applied to Shadow Death. Evil Death is the ability to quarantine a big ball of evil that's entangled with someone or something or an area like Montauk, and be able to make a big quarantine field around it and start shrinking that down as you starve the evil energy from stealing energy from whatever generators or area that's supplying it to expand outward. And you can practice this within yourself, past lives, DNA, and other people around you as you and the areas like Montauk to shrink down evil and then shrink it out of existence and capture, transmute it, send it somewhere else, which is ability that you're good to go for now. And I recommend that also if people want to resolve Montauk. It takes things like depossession, exorcising beings, revoking authority that was stolen by these demons from the original, helping restore the original authority they stole it from so they can take it back. Resolving and portal closure ability to surround the portal and then collapse it, which will be entangled with a bunch of things that are trying to prop it open, and then getting everything detached from it so it collapses, and then separating the drama between this realm and the hell realms or quarantine realms that are bleeding over in various places. And then fortress chess moves for the area where people can play this on their own when they activate their psychic abilities. They can put thumbtacks that represent white and dark, and they can put those on the board. They can tune in where the chess players in the game in the dark, where the chess players in the light that have exposed themselves currently, usually powerful, positive beings that have a big higher self doing something, will represent them. A lot of them want to remain secret, so you can have a certain member of them on the board. And you'll notice every time you put a light chess move on the board or have that opened up, because you can have that represented as like if you were playing the chess game where you send healing of freedom to that person, so that unlocks their level of activation and free them from psionic prisons and other stuff that holds back their ability, so they become more a light on that chessboard. There'll be a dark that exposes themselves for each one you have empowered, and then you can find where they are, and then you can figure out where their power is, that because they're all the dark steals power, and then start resolving the dark on the chessboard, or a map of the area that you're doing this in on a whatever board that you want to put pins into. And then you'll want to also have a color that represents places of power that you activate from a distance, or in the beginning it's way easier to activate places of power in person, otherwise it takes a while. If you activate a whole bunch, then it will be easier to do it from a distance. Then you want to then make a fortress once you clear a lot of the chessboard around the place that you're wanting to start as your first layer, so that it can prevent external negativity from coming in. And then once it's fortressed, it's able to protect itself, the light is able to shine more, and then you can add more representative light chess pieces on the that area, and then they start to take it back, because every one of us are like cells of the earth, and you can activate a cell that then empowers the rest, everyone around them constantly, and then more and more people start waking up around you, and it's pretty pleasant, and you can change the whole environment and their energy and how people feel in general.
That's so beautiful. I hope everybody takes even a fraction of what you said tonight into consideration. I mean, this is really, really cool stuff. Sean Bond, Rocko Fowler. Again, if you want to check out Sean's work, psionicleague.com. Such an interesting conversation. I really want to thank you both. This has been really, really positive response from the audience who's been watching this live. It's been so informative. I just thank you so much for your time, really.
Honor. Thank you guys so much. Love you, Rocko. Thank you, Greg. I love you guys.
Love you too, brother.
Much love, everybody. Take care. Love somebody today. Tell someone how much you love them. Someone said that signing off all the time, but do it. Do it for real. All right.